Okay, I want to show you a circuit that I modified based upon the components that I had available, and I want to send thanks to a certain individual in Canada who sent me these germanium diodes. This is very important in relation to my experimentation. And what I have here is a circuit, as again I want to say that I modified it, because originally the circuit that I saw on a certain website, and I'll try to put the link for the circuit, this is performing better than what they had, but I'm using this homemade antenna that is connected to the power of the monitor here through a coaxial cable, so it may be capturing some stray energy from that. But when I took the voltmeter, let me just say this, when I took the voltmeter and touched it on every possible connection any which way on this homemade antenna, I never got the voltage that I'm about to show you now, and despite the fact that it's millivolts, it's quite impressive. So what I've done here is, this was the only capacitor of this kind that was decent that I had, and normally in the circuit that I will hopefully have linked to after I'm done making this, had two capacitors, but I decided to just use the one with the germanium diode bridge, and then this capacitor, this sort of capacitor that I'm sure you're all familiar with. And I've made adjustments pulling it apart so that the metal is not connecting in a weird way, otherwise you get shorts and everything else. So there's no shorts in this, which if there was, nothing would be happening anyway. That would be good. So what I want to show you is this, and don't be confused by the black. These were the only leads that I had at the time to connect to the voltmeter, so they're both black, but one obviously is positive and one's negative. Now you can see that despite the color here is black, it's connected to the red, so this is positive. So what I'm going to do is find the positive of this capacitor here, and I'm going to clip that there. Okay, and hopefully the circuit stays in place, because I just tied it together. I didn't solder it. I always said solder, and people said that that was the wrong way to say it. It's solder, not solder. So I don't really care about pronunciations. I'm not a purist in that sense. I'm going to take the negative lead and put it over here if I can. It's very thin wire, so it's going to be a little bit hard to connect that. Alright, to the negative side of this, and let's hope it stays. Alright, now what I want to show you, and I've since freed up a red one, which you could easily see is positive, but what I'm going to do is put it on this side of this capacitor. Alright, now I'm going to try to rise it all up into the air without the connections coming loose, and show you, hang on, what's going on here. I got caught up on my little antenna, can antenna I made for my Wi-Fi there. I'm going to put it up on the antenna here in the middle on one of the wires, right about there, if you can see that. Now you can see these things are constructed of small wires that pick up the TV better than that expensive stuff I bought. Expensive antennas. Now let's turn the voltmeter on. What happens with that connection? Let's go all the way down to the millivolts. Look at that. Now the capacitors were discharged prior to this video. This is way down on the millivolts. I can't know if you can see that, but we've got a thing of 21.6. Let's go up to the next setting here, the one higher up. I don't know if you can see that. which shows a 20, 21 constant. And then if we go to regular volts, well, at that setting, the 20, this is the lowest huge volt. So if we got 1 here, that'd be 1 volt, 1 point whatever. We're not getting even that, but it's very interesting because it's doing something here. Look, we're at 21.7. Let me see if I can try to discharge the capacitors if I touch everything. Let's just try to discharge the hell out of them. Let's just let some of this stuff go out through my hands. This is safe enough to do. I wouldn't recommend doing this on a giant capacitor or anything. But I'm trying to discharge them. And it's going down while I hold it. But if, once I let it go, look. Just rises. It's rising good. Up to a point. It'll stop around 21 or so, or 20, 21. Look at that. Now this is stuff that's lost anyway, I think. 21.0, and we're on the smallest setting here of the millivolt. 200. Yeah, you can see what that is. And then if I go to the next setting, where it, you know, I mean, it's the same reading, it's just a different, different way to look at it. 0.01 volt. On the smallest. You're not going to get anything on the high. It's always going to be 0 on go at the highest level, so it's not going to be able to pick it up. But let's go all the way back down to the small one. That's pretty impressive. Now, where is that coming from? I look at Rose a little bit there. Almost 22. Now, when I hook the voltmeter itself, as I said at the beginning of this video, to any connection anywhere, I tried every possible connection, all the way up and all the way down. I tried to replicate exactly what we see here, up to a point. Everything I tried, I couldn't get more than 6, 8. Sometimes you get a flash of 12. But look, here we are. So what is this doing? Let's remove this. It's not useful, maybe. But it's doing something that's quite interesting, and now that I've removed it from the system up there, it's dropping. You can see that. See? But it never drops to 0. Never. And if I walk around with it, depending on where I'm walking around with it, outside, in the house, it picks things up. Now see, it's getting close to 0, but it never drops to 0. And now everything's pretty much discharged. Let's see what happens if I just discharge it and make it 0. Let's try to make it 0. Now the electricity from my body, of course, is going to let's take a piece of metal here. Let's take this and let's string that across. That should make it 0. Let's connect those. That'll knock it out. Now if I do it on that capacitor as well. Okay, we got 0. Now I managed to get 0, despite the fact that I said it never goes to 0. Now I'm not touching this at all. So look, I'm not touching the metal at all. Move it around here a little bit. Look at that. I discharged everything. I'm not touching the metal. I'm just touching the outside of the capacitor here on this side. Look at that. If I walk around or move it, I'm not walking around because I'm holding the camera here, so I can't go out and explore the outside arena or the kitchen or wherever I go. But you're getting something. Now some of it may be light from the light bulb. Let me try to cover that up. It's picking up some light from the fluorescent up here. So I'm covering that up and it's going lower. So that's part of the electricity. You're generating two different kinds of electricity here, or picking up on it rather, and not generating it. You're picking up on light electricity, and you're also picking up on frequency, electromagnetic of some kind. Look at that. Well, anyway, this video is going to probably take a long time to upload. This circuit's very interesting. Very interesting circuit. What if we did it on a big scale somehow? What could we have managed to achieve? I'm really curious about it. I get the next 2 days off, so I'll have plenty of time to figure things out and do some more experiments.